So once again, I welcome you all to this very special 113th session of Leadership Talks. As you know that these sessions are being organized by India International Education Council and School Lalaji Solutions. India International Education Council is a not-for-profit organization which is working in the field of education. It has collaborators from 12 countries. It aims to create a better world through education. It is also, trying to build quality centers for elementary education, which are approachable for all kids, finding best educational practices across the globe and find ways to implement those in Indian institutions. It is also creating more awareness on hygiene and learning disabilities. It publishes a magazine called World Education Review and many other educational reports. It aims to build 100 chapters in different cities by 2022. It will soon open its membership for institutions and individuals. It also impart training for leaders, teachers, students, and parents. As you already know that we have so far successfully conducted 112 sessions. We have received 11,772 registrations during those sessions. We have also received 10,645 questions on national education policy. We have seen participation from 5 countries: India, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Nepal. From India, we have seen participation from 21 states and 86 cities. We aim to organize 200 sessions. With this, we would be reaching out to 100,000 educators, 20,000 institutions, and 1,000 plus eminent speakers like today's speakers would be joining us to share their perspective. Now, I would request you all, please join me in welcoming our key speakers for this very special session of Leadership Talks. Our first key speaker, a very senior education leader, Dr. Archana Nigam. Archana Nigam ji is principal with the Delhi Public School, Kalyanpur, Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh. She's a passionate educationist with decades of experience. She's an ardent and dynamic head of the institution. She's a stalwart and versatile head, winning numerous awards in recognition of her caliber. Not only in academics, but in extracurricular activities, her role has illuminated many lives and augmented the zeal of life in them. Her genius was also recognized in the field of music, where she rendered notes of high quality. The reverence she gets is an example of her excelling in her field and dedication intermixed with respect of love from all those she inspires and guides in Delhi Public School, Kalyanpur. We welcome you, Archana ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next key speaker, another very senior education leader, Dr. Jyoti Gupta ji. Jyoti ma'am is principal with the DC Model Senior Secondary School, Faridabad. She did her Doctor of Philosophy in Hindi from Singhania University, Rajasthan. She is the principal with DC Model School, Sector 9, Faridabad since 1994. She published a very powerful article named Sundarkand Ek Naveen Paripeksh Mein, that was published in a national research publication named Shodh Disha, and another international research journal of half-yearly humanities and social science named Kritika. Her interview was also published, in on role of naturopathy in remaining fit and healthy workshop, seminars, and interviews. She was also interviewed by a Delhi Doordarshan channel on the topic. She has received various prestigious awards like a Millennium Award from Minister of State for Science and Technology by Mr. B.C. Rawat, Government of India, for successful complete. I believe a few lines have been mixed there. By a Rashtriya Samman Puruskar from the World Economic Progress Society. She was also awarded from National Literary Magazine Name 8 for supporting literary creativity. She also received another prestigious Sai Dham Gyan Puruskar 2015 in recognition of significant contribution to the field of education by Dr. Harshvardhan, Union Minister of Science and Technology in 2015. We welcome you, Jyoti ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next key speaker, Praveen Kesar ma'am. Praveen ma'am is principal with Sunbeam School, Lehtara, Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh. She's an eminent educationist having decades of experience. She has received many awards and recognition for her contribution to the field of education. We welcome you, Praveen ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next key speaker, Pratibha Atri ma'am. Pratibha Atri ji is principal with Shri Guru Ram Rai Public School, Dehradun, Uttarakhand. She has been in the education industry for past 37 years. She has been working as CBSE resource person and has conducted seminars on career counseling and value addition. She has been working as CBSE nodal supervisor since 2008. She received a Radha Krishnan Award by State Education Minister in 2004. She has also received an award in recognition with her social services by Avantika. She's also a life member and executive member with the Uttarakhand Child Council of Children Welfare. We welcome you, Pratibha ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next key speaker, Mr. A.K. Shukla. A.K. Shukla ji is principal with the Banaras Public School, Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh. He's a passionate educationist with decades of experience. He has done MA and BAd. He has also received many awards and recognition for his contribution to the field of education. We welcome you, Shukla sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next key speaker, another very senior education leader from higher education world, Dr. Kishore Raja. Dr. Kishore Raja ji is the head of department with SRM University, Haryana. He received a PhD degree from Anna University, Chennai, and completed a ME in communication systems. He has published more than 50 journals, papers in peer-reviewed journals, and has more than 23 years of experience in teaching and research. He has also received a C.V. Raman Research Award for the contribution in the area of research for wireless and communication. He published the book Electromagnetics Engineering 2015. He's a reviewer of the following international journals: International Journal of Network Security, Taiwan Censor Letters, American Scientific Publisher, Valley Journal, USA. We welcome you, Raja sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Our next key speaker, Mr. Sunil Tangi. Sunil ji is a co-founder and CEO of eMango Solutions. Sunil ji is an IIT graduate from IIT Kanpur. He's having a master's degree in mathematics and scientific computing. He's an actuary and also a member with Institute of Actuary, United Kingdom. He has worked with many prestigious institutions like ICICI Prudential, HSBC, a financial risk advisor at Ernst & Young, India and UK. He's an entrepreneur for the last 6 years in telecom, food and education sector. He has been doing research on career counseling for the last couple of years. And based on that research, they have come up with a wonderful product called eMango, which is a digital career counseling platform. We welcome you, Sunil sir. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Our last key speaker for this very special session, Ms. Michelle Amanna. Michelle is manager with Fatado School of Music. Fatado School of Music is India's largest music educator. It is a brand which is synonym to music in our country with a 150-year-old rich legacy. It has been working with 200 plus leading schools of India. It has trained over 1 lakh students. It owns renowned titles like Bandit, which is India's largest school-level music competition to promote music talents across all schools. Other titles are like Piano Concert, Cadence Workshops, High Jump Training, FSM Exams, Incentive Recital, FSM Recital. It enjoys partnerships with renowned institutions like Berklee College of Music and NMIMS School of Performing Arts. We welcome you, Michelle. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you.
So with this, we come to the next part of this session, which is the opening remarks. I would come to all our speakers, for your quick 1 minute opening remark. Then again, I'll come back to you for the main talk. So I would request Archana Nigam ma'am, if I may take you up for a quick 1 minute opening remark. Archana Nigam ma'am. You are on mute, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. The National Education Policy, with its path-breaking reforms, will definitely give new directions, new strength, and new dimension to the educational reforms. It is aligned to the 2030 agenda of transforming India into global knowledge superpower, which aims to make both school and college education more holistic, more multidisciplinary, flexible, suited to the 21st century skills, and bringing about the unique capabilities of each child. It is built on the foundational pillars of access, equality, equity, affordability, accountability, and believes in skilling, reskilling, and upskilling. So I will be sharing a few points on the important highlights of the school education which NEP has brought about. Thank you.
Thank you, Archana ma'am. We all are very excited to hear your ideas on that. I'll come back to you. Now, I would request Jyoti Gupta ma'am. Jyoti ma'am, if we can have your 1 minute opening remark. You are on mute, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. I am here to listen the different views of eminent educationists and presenting my views and my opinion regarding the new education policy and what I feel that the changes will definitely bring new horizon, new zenith for the young generation. And obviously, changes are always welcome. So I'm here, and thank you all of you for being with me and for being listening me. Thank you.
Thank you, Rati ma'am. We value your participation. I'll come back to you for your main talk. Now, I would request Praveen ma'am, if we can have your opening remark.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. And I hope I'm audible.
You're audible, ma'am.
Right. Thank you. So good morning and Jai Hind, everybody. The National Education Policy 2020 has brought with it a whiff of freshness and a lot of hope, especially for all of us educationists. So with the rollout of the NEP 2020, there is something that we have always kept on the sideline, which is vocational education, and that has now come into the limelight. And vocational education has garnered the required spotlight that it deserves. And the NEP is contemplating and giving opportunities, though there are challenges on vocational education. So I'll be focusing more on the vocational education when my turn comes. And I am, as I said, hoping that there is a lot of change and positive change that comes up in the educational front. So thank you.
Thank you, Praveen ma'am. We all agree with you that this NEP has that potential to bring that change. I'll come back to you for your main talk. Now, I would request Pratibha, if we can have your opening remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
It's my pleasure to be associated with so many eminent educationists today and to talk about my viewpoints on the National Education Policy 2020. For me, education is the best gift anyone can receive. Education is not all about books. It is actually building up of character, sowing seeds of value, empathy, and equity. It is like laying down of a sound foundation for a firm society and providing opportunities for all. And as educator, it is heartening to know that NEP 2020 is inclusive in nature and all these attributes of education have been included in National Education Policy. As an educator, again, I'm happy to see that National Education Policy envisions an education system deeply rooted in Indian ethos, thereby directly contributing in transforming India into an equitable and a vibrant knowledge society. National Education Policy 2020 aims at high quality education for all, thereby leading towards the global knowledge superpower. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratibha ma'am. Absolutely. Many educators have also, share the same belief that this policy has the potential to make India the much desired, superpower. So we'll be coming back to you for your main talk. Now, I would request Shukla sir, if we can have your opening remark.
Yeah, good morning to our prominent speaker of today. And if you talk about the NEP, if you talk about the NEP, I would like to say only one thing, that this is a revolutionary change in the education system of our country. If you talk about the NEP, and the basic thing of this NEP is that this NEP aims to transform education, keeping the learner at the center. And the second thing, this NEP creates this NEP envisages by creating synergies between the early childhood education and the higher education segments. It is a great point of this NEP, and when we will discuss about the NEP, then I'll tell you all the things. Thank you.
Thank you, Shukla sir. Absolutely, we all agree with you. This NEP has given its emphasis, by keeping students at the center. We'll be coming back to you for your detailed interpretation. Thank you, sir. Now I would request Dr. Kishore Raja. Kishore sir, if you can have your quick 1-minute opening remark. You are on mute, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Is it audible?
You're audible, sir.
Yeah, good morning to everyone. Today, I think we are going to, I'm going to talk about the decoding the national education policy. So this NEP aims the India looking forward to the future. So in that, the one main part, I think the coding. As an engineer, the coding is very important. One. I think it will start if you start from the 6th standard. I think we will build a future with young minds. So my section mostly highlighting the importance of coding in the NEP. So I am looking forward to everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Kishore sir. We will be coming back to you. Now I would request Sunil Dangiji. Sunil sir, if you can have your opening remarks.
Hello.
You are audible, sir.
Okay. Good morning to everyone. New education policy is very 34 years. Although some changes which kept on, but such a drastic change has happened after years. And I think the intent for this education policy is to take our country's education par with the various countries. And I'm going to discuss option which is being provided that choosing the subject instead of extra wings has been given. So how can help? What is the of the psychometric, the scientific way of choosing the career? I'll be discussing about that. Thanks, Rajul. You're on mute. Rajul, you are on mute.
Right. Thank you, Sunilji. And I'm sorry for that. I would request Michelle. Michelle, if you can have your opening remark.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Michelle, and I'm going to speak on the arts section, basically on music, how it's good, how the inculcation of music has been beneficial. And yes, we at FSM are equally thrilled by the inclusion of music in the system. So yes, I'll be speaking on those lines. Hope to speak, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Michelle, for joining, and we'll be coming back to you. Now, with this, we come to the next part of the session, which is the main talk session. I'll be coming back to all our key speakers for your main talk. All these speakers will get, 8 minutes for the remarks and 2 minutes, for the conclusion. So in total, 10 minutes. And in the end, we would be presenting questions to all the speakers, which we have received already from many educators. But before I invite our first speaker, I would like to share the learnings which we have had during our last 112 sessions. During our last 112 sessions, almost every participant, every educator who participated shared that this is a wonderful document. This document has that potential to place India at that coveted position of Vishwa Gyan Guru. At the same time, almost every participant apprehended that execution is going to be very challenging. Many educators who participated believe finance is going to be a key challenge. Many educators shared that, many good schools in India, in urban cities, are already implementing these ideas. So biggest challenge would be for the rural schools or budget schools or the, the government schools. Many educators also share that teachers training is going to be a key concern area, and CCE got failed due to that, poor interpretation or poor implementation and, lack of enthusiasm in the training part. Many educators also share that teachers, don't show that right intent for upgrading or towards the training part. Many educators also share that institutions are not willing to invest in the training of their teachers. They don't see that as the right set of investment. So with that note, I would request all the speakers that while sharing your interpretation, if you can also suggest some ideas or some suggestions, which we all can try to execute in our respective domain. So with this, I would request our first key speaker, Archana Nigam ma'am. Archana ji, over to you. Archana, yeah.
Since the NEP is bringing many transformational changes in the pedagogical structure and the core curriculum, so the schools should be ready for more rapid changes than before. They should be ready to use the technologies which have not yet been invented. They should also be ready to learn for the jobs which have not yet been created. And they have to prepare students for an interconnected world where they interact with each other successfully and take the responsibility of collective well-being. Now I will be presenting some important highlights of school education. So point-wise we'll be discussing. I will be sharing my screen.
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible.
Change. The first point is ensuring universal access at all levels of school education. This policy ensures that universal access to high quality early childhood care and education across the country. It also recommends universal access to school education at all levels, right from preschool to the secondary level. And the objective is to bring about 2 crores of children out who are not in the mainstream of education with the help of infrastructural support, with innovative education centers. And the purpose is to bring all these dropouts into the mainstream. Very important of this policy recommendation is universalization of education from 3 years onwards, on our commitment to the philosophy that no one should be left behind. Then tracking of students and their learning lives and facilitating multiple pathways to learn for the learning involving both formal and non-formal education modes with the association of counselors and social workers. The second important point of this policy is early childhood care and education with new curricular and pedagogical structure. With a lot of emphasis on ECC, the 10+2 structure will now be replaced by 5+3+3+4. And this will bring the preschool, that is the children in the age group of 3 to 6 years, under the school curriculum, which had been globally recognized as a crucial stage for development for the mental faculties of the children. This new system of 12 years of schooling with 3 years of Anganwadi or preschooling. So with this change in the pedagogical structure, basically for the Anganwadi children or the preschool children, the mode of teaching will be play-based, activity-based, and experiential learning. Very important in this policy is bringing the foundations of numeracy and literacy for the children of classes 1, 2, 3. Then in the middle school, that is children of classes 6 to 8, there would be more of subject introduction and subject exploration. Then +4, that is classes 9th onwards, there would be no difference in the stream and there would be specialization of subjects. Keeping this policy, the emphasis on the foundation of literacy and numeracy as a prerequisite to learning, the National Mission on Foundation Literacy has prepared an implementation program for attaining universal foundation literacy, numeracy in all primary schools for all learners by grade 3. Then there are certain reforms in the school core curriculum and pedagogy. The school co-curricular and pedagogy will now be aimed at holistic development of learners by equipping them with the 21st century skills. There will be reduction in the co-curricular content. The purpose is to enhance essential learning, critical thinking, and experiential learning. There would be a lot of flexibility given in the choice of subjects, and there would be no rigid separation between arts and science, co-curricular, extracurricular, vocational, or non-academic streams. Vocational subjects will also begin in class 6 and will include internship of 10 days where the child can go to, like if the child is learning some life skill like carpentry or laundry or anything. So the child can go to this place and they can be trained under the person who is teaching them carpentry. Then subjects like design thinking and artificial intelligence will also be started by the school. One very interesting aspect of this policy is the creation of holistic report cards. Report cards earlier used to have two separate parts, two columns only, where we used to write the marks and then the comments on the child. Now this holistic report card will have 3 columns. One will be assessed by the child himself, the second will be assessed by his peers, and the third will be the teacher's remarks. And every year, it will be compulsory for the child to learn some life skill, which at the end of 12 years, that is after he completes his schooling, those life skills will be mentioned in the report cards. And this way the child will learn and understand that during his schooling period, what skills has he imbibed while he was doing his learning. Then now we talk about the mother tongue, which is very, very important. Now as a medium of instruction, this policy emphasizes on teaching in the local language, in your own mother tongue, or in the regional language till class 5, and if possible till class 8 also. Sanskrit will also be offered at all levels of school and higher education to the students, and other classical languages and literatures will also be given as option, though no language will be imposed. The purpose is again that we are working under the initiative of Ek Bharat, Shresh Bharat, and students will be participating in a fun project activity on the languages of India, which the students of classes 6 to 8. Several foreign languages will also be offered at the secondary level. And again, very important feature of this policy is the implementation of the Indian Sign Language, which will be standardized, and a national and state co-curricular program will be formulated for this, especially for the students with hearing impairment. Then there have been certain assessment reforms. The NEP 2020 emphasizes shift from summative assessments to regular and formative assessments, which is more competency-based, promotes learning and development, and tests higher order skills, that is analysis, critical thinking, and conceptual clarity. Students will not take examinations in classes in grades 3, 5, and 8, which will be conducted by the appropriate authority. Grade 10 and 12 will have board examinations, but they will be redesigned with holistic development as the aim. Measures will again be taken to reduce the content and modify the examination modules so that the child gets time for all-round development. It is also said that the modular examinations can be conducted in the school once or twice in a year, and also separate paper for objective and descriptive papers can be there. Then all the subjects, very important, again, very important aspect of this policy will be that all the subjects will be offered at 2 levels, right from mathematics to the other subjects. The purpose of the examination will be there to test the application of knowledge in daily life rather than rote learning. And for this, a new national center, Parak, which will be set at a standard setting body, will be analyzing the performances of the various schools. The full form of this is Parak is Performance Assessment Review and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. Then equitable and inclusive education. The greatest challenge for the school is to ensure that equal opportunities are provided to all students. Despite best efforts, there are always children who are either overlooked, neglected, or left out of the ambit of quality of educational experiences. Teachers also struggle in the classrooms as these are becoming increasingly more diverse, because the children come from different cultures, the children are of different disabilities. The children come from different disabilities and from different marginalized groups. Catering to the needs of these special learners, we have to move away from the traditional practices towards more inclusive practices. The key recommendations are setting up a gender inclusive fund, and also some special educational zones, which focus on making education more inclusive and improve opportunities with people with disabilities. Then setting up of special educational zones in areas with large population of disabled children, initiating an inclusion fund for children with special needs. Special gender inclusion fund for the girl child is also included in this because it is understood that they suffer double disadvantages. Then recommendations are there for strengthening home-based schools and develop guidelines and standards for teaching outcomes for the children who are homeschooled. Parak will also take care of this assessment and certificate needs of the children with disabilities. Then emphasis is there on digital content, online tools, and optimum utilization of technology to provide greater access to learning content in multiple accessible formats to provide greater access to learning in easy formats to children with special needs. Then paradigm shift in the teaching and learning processes of the school. The focus of the schools has now shifted from rote learning to deeper understanding and from content-based to competency-based, focusing on 21st century skills. This policy also acknowledges the role played by the teachers in the learning journey of students. The policy gives a lot of subject choices to the students as well as integrates art education with the physical education within the curriculum. Another important feature of this policy is the forward-thinking approach, which has been adopted for assessment. It clearly mentions that schools should use assessment for learning, thereby making assessment a critical input rather than an outcome of teaching learning processes. Then teachers recruitment and teachers training. Teachers will be recruited through transparent processes and promotion will be merit-based only with multi-periodic performance appraisal to become educational administrators or teacher educators. For this, a national professional standards for teachers will be developed by the National Council for Teachers Education by 2022. The school governance, this is another feature of this policy. The schools can be organized into complexes or clusters, which will be the basic unit of governance, and it will ensure availability of all resources, infrastructure, academic libraries, and strong professional and teacher community. Standard setting and accreditation for school education, clear separate systems for policy making, regulation, operations, and academic matters will be used extensively for public oversight and accountability. In the higher education, the gross enrollment ratio will be increased by 50%, including the vocational education, which again will rise from 26.3% to 50% by 2035. And the public investment in the educational sector will be 6% of GDP in comparison to 4% at present. Then this policy advocates broad-based, multidisciplinary, holistic undergraduate education with flexible curriculum, creative combination of subjects, integration of vocational subjects, and multiple entry and exit points with appropriate certification. The undergraduate education can be from 3 to 4 years with multiple entry and exit options. After completion of 1 year, the student can get a certificate. Advanced diploma will be given after 2 years of the completion of the course. Bachelor's degree can be given after 3 years of the completion of the course, and bachelor's degree with research will be given after 4 years of the completion of the course. And another important point in this policy is an academic bank of credit, which will be established digitally for storing academic credits earned from different higher educational institutions, so that these can be transferred and counted towards final degree earned. Then the National Research Foundation will be again created for fostering a strong research culture and building research capacity. Then to control all these educational institutions, there will be a regulation committee which will also be set up by the Higher Education Commission of India, which will be set up as a single controlling body for the entire higher education, excluding medical and legal education. This HECI will have 4 independent verticals. The first one is National Higher Education Regulatory Council for Regulation, General Education Council for standard setting, for National Accreditation Council for accreditation, and Higher Education Grants Council for funding. This will function through faceless intervention through technology and will have powers to penalize any higher educational institution for not conforming with the norms and standards. Then the higher education institution will be transformed into large, well-resourced, vibrant, multidisciplinary institutions providing high-quality teaching, research, and community engagement. NEP also makes recommendation for motivating, energizing, and building capacity of faculty through transparent recruitment, and faculty who is not delivering on basic norms will be held accountable. A new national comprehensive national curriculum framework for teachers' education will also be formulated. The minimum degree qualification for teaching now will be 4 years of integrated B.Ed degree. Strict action will be taken against any substandard teacher education institution of India. Few more. Mentoring mission, the national mission for mentoring will also be established with a large pool of senior and retired faculty, which has the ability to teach language and who are willing to provide short and long-term professional support to the universities. Financial supports will also be given in the form of incentives to meritorious students, and the National Scholarship Portal will be expanded to support, foster, and track the progress of students. Open and distance learning will also be expanded to play a significant role in increasing the gross enrollment ratio. Then a lot of emphasis on online education and digital education. Building of digital infrastructure, digital content, and capacity building will be created by MHRD to look into the educational needs of school and higher education. Then national educational technology will also be created to provide a platform for free exchange of ideas, use of technology, enhanced learning, assessment planning, and administration. Then integration of technology into all levels of education will be done to improve classroom processes and practices. Then professional education will also be an integral part of the higher education system. All technical, health, science, legal, and agricultural universities will aim to become multidisciplinary institutions.
Right.
This policy again, I'm just ending up. This policy again aims to achieve 100% youth and adult literacy. The last point, which is very important, that is capacity building. NEP highlights the need-based modular approach towards continuous profession to improve students' learning, development of teachers' outcome. 50 years of continuous CPD has been mandated, building teachers' capacity and teaching practices through online outcome and workshop in schools at state and national and international levels. The shift is teachers themselves taking up the responsibility of self-improvement and choosing learning modules suited to their needs. In the end, I would just like to say that this national education policy aims to bring about paradigm shift in the teaching learning processes of the schools. It aims to make the students more innovative, adaptable, productive human beings. Students should also develop critical thinking, inquiry-based, discovery-based methods, and application of concepts. And it is said that the framing of national education, It is said that the framing of national education policy will be remembered as a shining example of participated governance. And it is said that with the implementation of this policy, India will emerge as a great knowledge center and educational destination in the world. Thank you. Stop sharing.
Thank you, Archana ma'am, for sharing and explaining these strong areas from national education policy. You talked about, how this policy is going to place to empower India, its learners and teachers. You all talked about, how this NEP ensures the universal school education. You also talked about the impact of NEP's emphasis upon the vocational education. You also talked about how the creation of holistic report card would bring a change, and how it would encourage the critical thinking and analysis and other 21st age skills among our learners. You talked about full initiatives by NEP like Parak and gender inclusivity of funds. You also talked about NEP's focus upon equity and inclusivity. Would certainly bring that desired change and would certainly expand the reach of education to the last to those excluded learners. You also talked about that, guidelines and emphasis given on teachers' recruitment and training would eventually empower our teachers and would create the environment where we would be having more, I would say, confident and employable students, and it would change our entire education ecosystem. So thank you, Archana ma'am, for sharing these strong points. I'll be coming back to you with questions. Thank you, ma'am. Now, with this, I would request our next key speaker, Jyoti Gupta ma'am. Jyoti ma'am, over to you. You are on mute, ma'am.
Now, I think I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. So as far as national education policy is concerned, I would like to put my views in Hindi. The very important thing which I appreciated that the primary education जो उन्होंने बोला है कि हमारी मदर टंग में होना चाहिए, that is a very strong point. अपनी भाषा से जो हम बच्चों को समझा सकते हैं, जो बता सकते हैं, वो बहुत सारे स्कूलों ने सफर किया है, बहुत बच्चों ने भी सफर किया है. No wonder that English is a marvelous language, no wonder. But मुझे लगता है कि जब इनिशियल ईयर्स होते हैं बच्चों के, तो उस वक्त उनको जितना अच्छा कॉन्सेप्ट अपनी मदर टंग में क्लियर होता है, उतना उनको ज्यादा स्ट्रगल करना पड़ता है दूसरी भाषा इंग्लिश में उस चीज को समझने में और सीखने में. तो इस एजुकेशन पॉलिसी की मुझे ये बात बहुत ही अपील की है. बाकी जब भी कोई चेंज आता है, चाहे वो सीसीई पैटर्न था पहले, हर एक चेंज के कुछ प्रॉस एंड कॉन्स होते हैं. यहाँ पर भी अभी जो एजुकेशन पॉलिसी है बहुत अच्छी है, नो वंडर. लेकिन धीरे धीरे एक तो इसको समझने में टाइम लगेगा, क्योंकि हर लेवल पर इसमें चेंज है, हर लेवल पर चेंज है, चाहे वो प्री प्राइमरी लेवल है, चाहे वो प्राइमरी लेवल है, स्कूल लेवल है और कॉलेज लेवल है, हर जगह पर चेंज आया है. तो इसको थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा. इवन जो हेड ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूट है उनको समझने में टाइम लगेगा, तो टीचर्स और बच्चों की और पेरेंट्स की तो बहुत देर तक नंबर आता है. तो नो, आई एम होपफुल कि ये पॉलिसी बहुत सक्सेसफुल रहेगी, बिकॉज हर एजुकेशनिस्ट, हर व्यक्ति जो एजुकेशन से जुड़ा है इस वक्त चाहता था कि कुछ चेंज आए. और जो थ्रू लॉकडाउन पीरियड हम लोगों ने डिजिटल एजुकेशन को बहुत प्रोमिनेंट बनाया है, नेचुरली ये एक बहुत ही फ्रूटफुल रहेगा एजुकेशन लाइन में. तो इसका भी मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा है ये. देन रोल ऑफ टीचर्स के साथ साथ पेरेंट्स का रोल और टीचर्स का रोल बहुत इफेक्टिव है इस पॉलिसी को एक्सेप्ट करने के लिए, क्योंकि चेंजेस को एजुकेशनिस्ट एक्सेप्ट कर लेंगे, लेकिन धीरे धीरे पेरेंट्स इसको एक्सेप्ट कर पाए, टीचर्स इसको समझ पाए. क्योंकि थ्योरेटिकली तो सीसीई भी बहुत अच्छा था, बट जब उसको इम्प्लीमेंट किया गया तो कई जगह तो डिजास्टर्स हुए, कई जगह तो बच्चों का इतना बुरा हाल हुआ है कि इट्स डिफिकल्ट टू एक्सप्लेन. सो पॉलिसी में कोई गड़बड़ नहीं थी, लेकिन इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में कमी रह जाती है. इसीलिए इस पॉलिसी को भी इम्प्लीमेंट करने से पहले इसका जो आप ये एफर्ट्स कर रहे हैं, सभी एजुकेशनिस्ट के व्यूज ले रहे हैं, उनके इस पॉलिसी को डिस्कशन हो रहा है, उसके सारे माइन्यूट पॉइंट्स को डिस्कस किया जा रहा है, तो दैट इज अ वेरी वेरी गुड एफर्ट ऑन योर पार्ट. I must appreciate heartedly to you. And इसमें जहां तक असेसमेंट पैटर्न है, असेसमेंट पैटर्न भी जो अब इम्प्लीमेंट करने की कोशिश की जाएगी थ्रू दिस पॉलिसी, मुझे लगता है वो ज्यादा कारगर साबित होगा. क्योंकि किसी बच्चे को सिर्फ उसके फाइनल एग्जाम के रिजल्ट्स पर एसेस नहीं किया जा सकता, जो सीसीई में भी था, डेफिनेटली शॉर्ट टर्म असेसमेंट था, लेकिन अब जो है वो और भी ज्यादा इस चीज को ध्यान में रखकर पॉलिसी में इसका समावेश किया गया है. तो अच्छा लगा ये पैटर्न भी. तो मुझे एजुकेशन पॉलिसी से मैं बहुत ही उम्मीद रख रही हूँ, और सभी एजुकेशनिस्ट इसको अपने लेवल पर खूब अच्छे से डिस्कस करके अपने स्टाफ को, अपने आसपास अपने पेरेंट्स को समझा पाए, कन्विंस करा पाए और उसको बहुत अच्छे से इम्प्लीमेंट करा पाए. सो आई एम वेरी होपफुल. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jyoti ma'am. You highlighted a few very important areas from NEP. You talked about the focus on mother tongue. Would immensely strengthen the foundation, and that is very much required. You also talked about we need to create more and more awareness on national education policy among all the educators, parents, and other learners. You also talked about we must embrace the digital integration, into our education system. And in fact, this COVID thing, this pandemic exposed the badly distributed digital infrastructure in our country. So we certainly need to be concerned about that as well. You also talked about that our general mindset, to resist change needs to be changed. We need to encourage people to embrace change. So big thanks, Jyoti ma'am, for highlighting these important areas. I'll be coming back to.
Sorry, one thing more I want to highlight, and that is value based education. The education abhi bhi education mein values hai but it needs more emphasis on values. और क्योंकि एजुकेशन का मतलब जो हमें लगता है कि पढ़ लिए बहुत अच्छे प्रोफेशनल्स बन जाएं, बट बिफोर दैट वी शुड बी अ वेरी गुड पर्सन, वी शुड बी अ वेरी गुड ह्यूमन बीइंग. सो एजुकेशन ऐसी हो और बच्चों के जो संस्कार है वो अपनी भाषा में, प्राइमरी लेवल में जो बच्चों में वो सीड्स डाले जा सकते हैं, उसको बहुत जरूरी है. और वो हमारे देश में अभी तक जो करिकुलम बनाया गया, सिलेबस बनाया गया, वो कहीं पर मिसिंग है. कुछ मिसिंग है जो ह्यूमैनिटी को प्रमोट करे, ह्यूमैनिटी को स्ट्रॉन्ग करे. तो क्योंकि रिजल्ट्स ये बता रहे हैं, ये बता रहे हैं क्योंकि अगर बच्चे आज डिप्रेशन में हैं, अगर बच्चे आज स्ट्रेस में हैं, तो इसका मतलब कहीं एजुकेशन में कुछ कमी रह गई है. तो मुझे लगता है कि एजुकेशन ऐसी हो जो बच्चों को स्ट्रेस से बाहर निकाल सके, अपनी लाइफ को स्ट्रांगली फेस करने के लिए तैयार कर सके, और उसके जो सीड्स होते हैं वो बचपन में ही डाले जाते हैं. इसलिए प्राइमरी एजुकेशन इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. और उसको मदर टंग में हम अपनी जो हमारी इंडिया की जो संस्कृति है उसको स्ट्रॉन्ग करते हुए अगर हम करें, तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि हमारी एजुकेशन में कहीं कोई कमी रह जाएगी. जो कमी रह भी जाएगी वो बाद में कवर हो जाएगी. बट प्राइमरी एजुकेशन को स्ट्रॉन्ग बनाए, फाउंडेशन शुड बी स्ट्रॉन्ग इनफ, जिसमें वैल्यूज का जो पानी है वो इतना गहरा पड़ना चाहिए कि पेड़ पर कहीं कोई कमी ना रह जाए. So thank you so much for making me, giving me the opportunity. I must thank you, Rujul. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, and we are in fact honored with your presence. And absolutely, in fact, a lot of educators believe कि ये पॉलिसी एक वाकई में गंभीर प्रयास है उस तरफ जहाँ पे हम लोग जो हमारी जो राष्ट्रीय वैल्यूज हैं उनको उनको इंटीग्रेट कर सके बच्चों के में, और कई सारे ऐसे इनिशिएटिव्स इस पॉलिसी के थ्रू उस रिजल्ट्स की तरफ हमें लेके जाएंगे. So thank you, Jyoti ma'am, for highlighting these important points. I'll be coming back to you with questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Now I would request our another senior participant, Parveen Kaisar ma'am. Parveen ji, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I would like to start with something that each one of us has been hearing right since our childhood. And that is the way we have been proudly boasting of the Gurukul system that was prevalent in India, wherein the student was residing with the Guru and was not only getting the education in terms of the academics, but also a lot of practical applications of things were happening. However, over the years, over centuries, this practical application, which we call vocation, kind of diluted and it went into a sideline. National Education Policy 2020 has now focused on bringing the vocational education back into the mainstream. And I think this is something that is extremely refreshing. And we must ensure that this gets implemented and we get this into a system of education. Because what is happening is because of the vocational education being sidelined, the skills are also dying out somewhere in the run. So the National Education Policy 2020, it is a comprehensive policy document which is extensively discussing the revamping of the vocational education. So as I said, it is now focusing on bringing vocational education back into the mainstream. In fact, if I would like to quote the Kothari Commission report of 1966, that was, I think, one of the earliest to emphasize the diversifying of the curriculum at the higher secondary level through vocational courses. The National Education Policy of 1986 also focused on improving the organizational and the management structure of vocational education, both at the secondary and at the higher education level. We, in our own schooling days, remember doing the SUPW, which was the socially useful productive work. And that was like a separate subject in secondary classes and the vocational degree courses at higher education level. But if I remember correctly, about what we used to take in those classes was mere, something that was not given so much of importance as was the maths and the sciences. So therein, there was a drastic change, and as a result, vocation and vocational education kind of came into the sidelines. Now, the assessment by the National Institute of Open Schooling that is highlighted that only 2% of the total population between the ages of 15 to 29 years have received formal vocational training, and only 8% have received non-formal vocational training. So that in itself tells us how little importance we have given to vocational education. And obviously, there are certain reasons which we can pinpoint for the failure of the vocational education, especially in India. The courses have never been well defined, and neither have they been properly segregated. So the planning in itself had lacunas, wherein only basic introduction to all of those courses were focused upon, and obviously the importance there kind of got diluted, and it never got the significance that it should have got. As a result, anyone who was opting for a vocational subject was treated like a second-class citizen, in the sense that probably is not very well versed in the academics or not very strong academically, would want to go in for a vocational course. Also, people who, students who were dropouts, especially after class 8 or after classes 11 and 12, they kind of opted for vocations, and as a result of the poor planning, we got into something which is called the vocational school fallacy, wherein the students who were trained into any vocation were also not opting for the blue collar jobs, but they were looking for better opportunities into the white collar jobs by pursuing higher education with the main subjects. So obviously, that was something that was a concern, and I'm happy and proud that NEP 2020 is kind of giving provisions for vocational education, and it is now upon us to ensure that it gets implemented. So provisions for vocational education in NEP 2020, if I may just quickly let you all know, it discards the theoretical part of vocational training and emphasizes teaching only the practical aspects. So obviously, when more practicals happening, probably things will get better and students will get more well equipped with their vocations. NEP is also emphasizing that there is alignment of the vocational occupation, keeping in mind the international standards of the ILO. So we are not just thinking locally, we're not just thinking nationally, we're thinking on international standards as well. And of course, the inclusion of the industry, the NGOs, and the civil society organizations, the NEP is focusing to seek their involvement into getting this into the mainstream. So when we are talking about the social stigma that comes along with students who take up vocational education or the vocational subjects as their main subject, if we have to really overcome the situation of the social stigma, we need to keep in mind a few things. Again, something that is extremely important, that the integration into the mainstream education, all of the educational institutions in a phased manner, is something that NEP 2020 is talking about. So we need to ensure that in the coming decade, this gets implemented as said by NEP, the document. It has to be in a phased manner. Also, the importance of various vocations involving the Indian arts and artisanship. I think this is also something that should be the focus, because again, the handicrafts, the thing that India is has been proud of over the years, all of those skills are kind of getting diluted, and they're dying out. So it's important for us as educational institutions to ensure that this doesn't happen. NEP 2020 also talks about teaching of vocational courses right from class 6, and mostly in the form of internship or probably practical activities. So it's not just at the secondary or the higher secondary level, it's right from the very beginning that we need to kind of get this into the system. But as everything else, the implementational challenges are there. So yes, we need to keep that also in mind, because in the past we have seen, because of the lack of planning, because of lack of trained vocational teachers, there have been setbacks. So we need to ensure that even the budgetary allocation, which is much more than what it was say around 5 years back. Right as of now, approximately 3,000 crores has been allocated for skill development in the union budget of 2020-21. Now, this is a significant increase in the past 5 years. However, keeping in mind the demands of the market, it is pretty less. So whatever budgetary allocations have been made, it has to be channelized properly. It has to be done with efficiency, so that it is used to the optimum. So that needs to be chartered. Of course, the government must start mapping out the linkages between the demand of the industry and the supply of vocational courses. So the Indian industry needs a lot of skilled labor right now, and students who are going to make their first choice is something that we need to ensure, so that the skills can align according to the jobs that are available. Also, if I just look back to the last year, which was during the time of pandemic, we have all realized, and especially the teacher fraternity, the student fraternity, even the parents, they have realized the importance of digital literacy. Now, that is something that needs to be focused upon as well. So with the world moving towards a digital order, NEP 2020 is also pushing for the same. And technology-based skills, especially among the youth, have become more critical than ever before, because we have realized that the world comes into your hands if you are digitally literate. So obviously, those are things that need to be kept in mind. Very something that again I need to let everybody know that yes, the NEP has made all of these recommendations, but in order to effectively implement the recommendations in the NEP 2020, the government also needs to learn from the existing inefficiencies in all of the skilling programs. So obviously, this is something that we need to keep in mind. There has been a mismatch of the demand and the supply of skilled manpower, but NEP 2020 also says that by 2025, 50% of the learners shall have an exposure to vocational education. So therein lies a lot of hope, and I'm sure we are going to look forward to a lot of positivity coming from this particular document. There is definitely light on the other side of the tunnel. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Praveen ma'am. And we all agree with you that vocational education is very important area, and NEP has rightly focused upon it. In fact, it's very disturbing when we hear these kind of facts that 82% of our graduates are not even employable. So after spending 18 years or 20 years, 21 years into our conventional education system, we get that remark that we are not employable. So that's very disturbing, and NEP has focused its attention. You talked about and you assessed that NEP is a comprehensive policy document, and it puts its attention to vocational education, and it is making an effort to put that vocational education into the mainframe education system. You also shared that inferior social stigma which was attached to the vocational courses so far has hampered its growth. You also talked about that NEP proposes changes while keeping an eye on global standards and the challenges for the current time. You also talked about that though government has increased its budgetary allocation towards the vocational education, but more budget allocation is needed. So big thanks, Praveen ma'am, for sharing these important points and how the entire policy empower us. Thank you, Praveen ma'am. I'll be coming back to you with questions. Thank you.
Sure.
With this, I would request our next speaker, Pratibha Atri ma'am. Pratibha ma'am, over to you.
Hi, everyone. National Education Policy 2020, much has been spoken by eminent speakers. I was listening very carefully. The principal DPS Kalyanpur has in detail, in depth, explained the major points of the National Education Policy 2020. And the second speaker also has emphasized on the importance of the fundamental education and the value building. I was going through the National Education Policy document. I was going through the first chapter of the National Education Policy, that is the fundamental principles of National Education Policy. You all must have gone through. There are 20 fundamental principles of National Education Policy. But out of this 20 fundamental principles of this National Education Policy, what attracted me the most are the two fundamental principles, principle number 1 and principle number 2. The principle number 1 of the fundamental principle states or emphasizes on identifying, recognizing, and fostering the unique capabilities of every child, and thereby sensitizing parents and teachers for promoting the holistic development of students. This is the first fundamental principle in the National Education Policy, that is to recognize, identify, and foster the unique capacities of the children. And second fundamental principle in the National Education Policy is to attain the fundamental literacy and the numerical ability. The fundamental literacy and numerical ability is a crucial point. It is very important in the learning system. We all know that the entire this new education policy has been restructured. It has been restructured as 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. I'll just concentrate on the fundamental education, and that too, I would like to enumerate just the role of the parents and the role of the teachers in the process of going through the letter and spirit of the fundamental education policy. This fundamental education, this national education policy, when we deal with this fundamental principles, the two first principles that draw our attention, they are basically addressing to the parents and the teachers. The role of parents and teachers cannot be neglected. When we talk of the role of the parents or when we talk of the role of the teachers, then one must understand that the children have to be dealt with care and love. In elementary education, the primary teachers, they have to nurture the child. Nurturing a child is a very important, excellent, and yet a daunting task. It is a very daunting task because nurturing a child has no set rules. It has no set procedures and no definite steps to follow. Only the one with the sensitive heart and the overflowing emotion of love and affection can win their attentions. The National Education Policy 2020 emphasizes on the emotional quotient of the learners. National Education Policy advocates that the emotional quotient of the children should be high. Therefore, we as an educators have to keep this in mind, that the children have to be nurtured and their individual talents have to be recognized and identified. Teachers in the primary education have a great role to play in. In fact, what I feel that the teachers should have a mother's heart. Teachers should have a mother's heart. This is so because a mother's heart is not only confined to the mothers only, and nor it is confined to the women alone. A mother heart is universal. Man too can have and can manifest it. A mother's heart is the one which accepts a child naturally as he or she is. We tend to have a tendency, generally we tend to like children in the school, those who are academically bright, those who are well informed, those who are well spoken, those who are well adjusted, those who are good in the extracurricular activities, and so on. But again, here our love gets conditional. If we can overcome with all these considerations, and if we take all the children under our fold on equal measures, then certainly a mother's heart is functioning in it. So we have to understand the spirits that are lying behind the concept of the fundamental education, that is identifying, recognizing, and fostering the individual capability of every child. You see, we have to pay attention to every child and understanding that every child is a unique gem and every child has varied interest. We have to take care of child in such a way that their interest in a subject is not upheld. We cannot, we cannot have a chance of losing another Einstein, which was just, expelled from the school, or which could not complete school, or which refused to memorize the facts of the history in the school. And later on, we all know that Einstein became a great scientist. And not only this, he discovered the important theory of relativity. So every child is unique. That is the first fundamental principle of the education policy. And this uniqueness has to be nurtured. Individual capability has to be, harnessed. This we have to take care as an educator. As an educator, keeping a mother's heart is most important. Treating every child equally is most important. And when we talk about the role of parents in the new education policy, generally what I feel that the value education needs more attention in the present day scenario, where the children, somehow they are missing the knowledge, the love, the affection, the teachings, the lessons they used to get from their parents and grandparents. This is somehow missing in the nuclear families today. Therefore, the role of parents and role of the teachers in imbibing values in the children becomes very important. Most of the parents, they feel that imbibing these values is the responsibility of the school. They think that it is in the domain of the schools only to develop these values or imbibe this value into a child. Parents must understand that it is the family which is the first school of a child, and it is the mother which is the first teacher of the child, where a child passes maximum time. Therefore, when the students, they learn what we teach them and they become what we make them. Therefore, the responsibility of parents and the responsibility of teachers should be to identify and nurture each and every child in the best possible way. Parents, they think that schools alone should do it, but the parents should not feel that it is not their responsibility. There are a number of values that the children learn at home. And on the other hand, we as schools cannot deny our responsibility of providing value education. We at the end, as schools, have to provide not only book-based knowledge, but also the values have to be drilled in the students. I think the child-centric approach is the need of the hour. Child-centric approach is advocated in the national education policy as well. And this child-centric approach needs to take all possible care of a child by the family and by the school in the best possible way, so that the children in the school feel happy, they come to school happily, and they have a positive approach towards life. They are less stressed, and overall happiness quotient of the child at the school should be high. And this is what I comprehend, that the first two fundamental principles of the national education policy advocates, that is identifying, recognizing, and fostering the unique capacity of every child. I come to the second fundamental principle of the national education policy, that is numerical literacy and numerical ability and the numerical literacy. Fundamental things that a child needs to learn in the initial fundamental years of studies, which we all know that has been divided into two parts, 3 years of Anganwadi or preschool and 2 years of class 1 and 2. During these years, the stress has to be there, although national education policy advocates that the system has to be multifaceted, experiential learning, everything is there, but still there are 4 basic skills of the language that should be taken care of at this stage: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Reading, writing, speaking, listening, these are the 4 skills that the student should be equipped with in this fundamental years. And besides the reading, writing, listening, speaking, and comprehending the text, numerical ability has to be developed. Number of times, the student should be capable of carrying out the fundamental calculations of addition and subtraction using Indian numerals. Number of times it is reported by the teachers in the school, a child studying accounts in class 11th or physics in class 11th, cannot carry out the simple operations, basic operations of mathematics. They don't have any idea of the decimal or the place value or the fractions. So this is ironical, and this fundamental years of education should be used for fundamental education and the numeral literacy. Number of times students in class 6th and 7th, they are not able to comprehend the text and not even read out the text. This is surprising, and this happens. This has been observed. Large number of surveys has been carried out by the number of governmental and non-governmental agencies, and this has been reported by these surveys that still the primary, there is a knowledge crisis in the country at the elementary level, and approximately 5 crores of the children in the elementary education, they are not fundamentally equipped, and they don't have, they can't do calculate simple addition or subtraction using Indian numbers. Therefore, this is a national challenge, has to be taken as a national challenge by all the schools, and it is a national mission also. A national mission is going to set up for keeping, for monitoring that by 2025, this fundamental literacy and numeracy is attained by all children. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pratibha ma'am, for sharing these important points. You talked about, NEP's focus upon parents and teachers and how it is going to create value for everyone. You also talked about the teachers in primary education part. Are and they have been playing the most important role. In fact, I believe that this NEP has already achieved one very important milestone, that it has created that necessary awareness about the importance of those early years. Now everyone is talking about that. We completely agree with your perspective here, ma'am. You also talked about that every child is unique, and NEP encourages and it proposes an environment where this uniqueness, must be celebrated and nurtured. You also talked about that we need to encourage and we need to build an environment that focuses to enhance the happiness quotient among all the learners. You also talked about that we need to inculcate the 21st age skills. You also talked about, like, apart from reading, writing, we need to focus upon this numeric ability among our kids, and we need to find innovative ways to inculcate those skills. So thank you, Pratibha ma'am, for sharing your remarks. I'll be coming back to you with questions. Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome.
Right. Now, with this, I would request our next key speaker, A.K. Shukla sir. Shukla sir, over to you.
Yes, sir. Sir, in starting, I was saying that the new education policy 2020 aims to transform education, keeping the learner at the center. I was saying, now everybody will be thinking, before 2020 education, whatsoever education was provided at that time, whatever will be happened, either the learner might be kept in the center or not. It is clear that every time the learner is kept in the center in every education. But the 2020 education policy says that the learner should be kept in the center by holistic development. Means holistic development means students should be developed by ensuring access, relevance, equity, equality, and strong foundational learning should be in this education. Means the NEP 2020 says all these things, means in such a way students should be developed. And the second, I think the second key point of this NEP is NEP envisages creating synergies in the curriculum across early childhood care and education, ECCE, to school and higher education segments. Means this education system connects from early childhood education to higher education, and the NEP stresses on creating a national curricular and pedagogical framework which is completely based, inclusive, innovative, and focuses on comprehensive development of the children. How the students can be developed comprehensively, just as a teacher, as an educator, just we have to see what we can do so that students may be developed comprehensively. Last education, when CCE pattern, as the ma'am was saying, that was going on in our country, at that time everybody was focusing on comprehensive development, but it was failed. There was some reason. But as an educator, we have to see how it can be implemented and how it can be beneficial for the society, for the students. One thing I would like to say, first of all, as an educator, we have to create a mind among the students that they are the future of the country, they are the future of a nation. Such as a teacher, we think that as a teacher, we should think that we are also the creator of a nation. We are the future creator of a nation. And by thinking so, just we have to create a mind among the students that they should know that they are the future of a nation. If they will be good, in that case, a nation will be good. And this NEP focuses on all these things. And the second one thing, we have to motivate the students, such as everyone was saying that this NEP says that we have to teach up to primary level in our regional language, mother tongue. But every time, if we see carefully, the state board still provides education in regional language, in his regional language. But what happens there? Our school is in rural area. And one thing we are facing here, after coming from the state board, students doesn't afford, a student is unable to afford the CBSE board. Why it is happening? The NEP which is being followed by in 2020, but after in rural area, our school is in a rural area, and a student, if he or she comes from the state board, in that case he or she is unable to manage in CBSE board. Why it is happening? We have to think as an educator, we have to think as a leader, we have to see why it is happening. And the CBSE is indicating to us that once again we have to teach in our regional language. Then what will happen? If we are unable to teach the students after coming from the state board in CBSE board, and then if we will see up to primary level in a regional language, then what will be happen? Then simply as a teacher, as an educator, as CC pattern is being cursed by every teachers, every educators. Just like once again we will I think begin to curse the education system. But as an educator, we haven't to curse the system. We haven't to make an excuse in education system. As an educator, we have to improve ourselves so that education system may move on smoothly. One thing I would like to say, after reading up to primary level in the regional language, if a student enters in 6th standard and he or she has to completely study in English medium, in English language, then but up to 5th standard, just we have to focus as a subject English, so that they may continue, they may understand properly after coming in 6th standard the education system properly. And up to 5th standard, as an educator, we have a complete responsibility to make their mind that they are the future of a nation. And if you talk about this NEP, we will see that this NEP is completely according to the global competency based. In starting after gaining the education in our country, if a student went abroad India to search a job, at that time for 1 year they have to participate, they have to take admission for foundational learning. It was our mistake. But after gaining the education, after this NEP 2020, if a student will go abroad India, at that time I think he or she will not take admission in a foundational learning to be adjusted him or herself there. It is, I think it is a strong point of this NEP. And the second thing is this NEP says that we have to motivate the children, we have to motivate the students so that they may learn. In our life, always it happens, if we